Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you for joining me today. I'm sharing a card that didn't quite turn out how I wanted it to today, but I thought it was still kind of cute, so I decided to keep it in and show you what happened. So I wanted to use some of my new Lawn Fawn products. I pulled out the Bicycle Built for You stamp set, and then I have the Build a Cabin die and the Heart Garden Border die. So I went ahead and coloured and cut out the images that I wanted. I have the coordinating dies for the stamp set, so that was easily done. Then I cut out my dies, the cabin and the heart garden border, using some white cardstock because I wanted to do some Copic colouring on it today. I normally cut from coloured cardstock and maybe just add a few little details. But I wanted to try something a little bit different today, so I decided to use my Copics to colour everything in. Yes, it does take a little bit longer, but I think the effect is quite nice. I'm not really kind of doing anything fancy with my colouring, just keeping it quite basic and simple. And yeah, it didn't take too long, but it does take a little bit longer than just using coloured cardstock, obviously. But I like the look that it gives, and I had an idea in my mind of what I wanted to do. As I say, it didn't turn out, and you will see in the end what happened. But I had a plan and I couldn't stick to it, so I just tried to do things to make it work as best I could. In the end, I think it's okay. Not overly happy with it, but I think it's kind of cute. So I decided just to stick with it and show you guys, not everything's perfect. And to be honest, any day that you're kind of crafting or card making is a good day, right? So it doesn't really matter if things don't turn out exactly the way you want them to. So I'm just using some green markers here. I've got YG09, YG07, YG05 to colour in the grass and stems of my little heart flowers here. And I'm not too worried about getting marker on the hearts because you've got the little hearts that cut out separately to create the flower tops for this die. So I will be colouring those separately and adding them with glue at a later date. So once that is done, I will do the same for my other one. And then it's on to colouring in my hearts. So I'm using 3 different colour combinations here. I have RV13, RV14 and RV10 is one colour combination. I have R46 and RV25 as another colour combination. And I have R35 and R32 as my final colour combination. Not a huge, great difference between the 3 colours, but you can see one's a lot darker, one's a bit more reddish, and one's definitely a pink combination. So I'm just going to go through and do all of my hearts in these different colour combinations. I've kind of grouped my little hearts so that I know how many to do of each colour. And then I will attach them on to my little stem bases. So I'm not going to show you all the colouring of all the hearts because that would be rather boring. I'm just showing you a selection of a few, and then I will carry on off screen and finish these off. So once all my hearts are done, I pull in my log cabin here, and I wanted to keep it looking relatively white. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading using a BG10 marker, which is this really pale aqua colour, just kind of around the edges and kind of at the bottom of each of the log planks, so to speak. And I'm just kind of keeping it, as I say, very, very simple. I'm not doing anything fancy today. It's a quick and easy way to add colour to white die cuts. And I think it's quite cute. I think it looks quite effective. But like I say, nothing fancy. I'm not even blending this out or anything. I'm just kind of fading off into white. It's a light enough colour that I think I can get away with that. Once that is done, I'm going to pull out the roof and the other little accessories, which would be like the frame to the windows and the door frame. And I'm going to use that RV14, RV13 and RV10 colour combination that I used for some of the flower hearts. And I'm just going to add some colour for these accessory pieces to my little log cabin. So my log cabin is going to be white with pink trim, because who doesn't want a log cabin that's white with pink trim? Obviously I was going for kind of a Valentine's card today, a bit of a Valentine's feel. And as I say, it hasn't worked out quite how I wanted it to be, but I think it's still kind of cute. So I wanted to show you how I did everything in case you were interested in seeing how it kind of came together. So this is the frame for the door, and I'm just adding some shading kind of around the edges, and then I'll go in with my lighter markers to kind of blend out towards the edge. It's quite thin, so it's hard to kind of get all the colours in there. This RV10 is a lot lighter than the other colours, and it does kind of bleach out some of the darker colour, but I kind of like the look that it gives anyway, so I think it looked quite nice. So with the little window frames, they're really tiny, so I'm just doing some darker colour at the bottom and then blending up towards light towards the top of each window frame. And once that is done, I realised that my door needs some shading on it, so I'll pull out that BG10 marker again. I'm going to pop out the little inserts for the window and the door, and I'm going to add some shading to that door frame, or sorry, the door itself, so that it doesn't look quite so stark and white in comparison to everything else. Once that is done, my little log cabin is pretty much finished and ready to go. So I have all of the pieces coloured, ready to go, and I think it looks really, really cute. I did pull out my Colorless Blender just for the door, because I felt like that was a little bit too dark for whatever reason. I used the BG10, it was the same marker that I'd used for the rest of the cabin, but I just felt like it was a bit too dark on the door. So I just used my Colorless Blender to blend it out a little bit and make sure it wasn't quite so stark. So in the Builder Cabin die, there is this little heart which goes on the front of the cabin, and I coloured that in the same coloured pink markers to add above my door. I did actually cut out the sign that comes with the cabin die as well, but I decided I like the heart best, so I'm just using that. So now it's time to start assembling things together. So I'm just using my liquid glue, and I'm going to go ahead and add the little hearts to the top of the heart flowers. And I'm going to kind of alternate the colour order here. Like I said, the colours aren't hugely different, but different enough that they kind of, I didn't want them all the same together, if that makes sense. So I am going to finish this off screen. You don't need to see me gluing all the pieces down. I'm going to do this for both sets of garden heart border dies that I cut out and coloured. So once I've finished with those, you can see them there. I'm going to do the same for my little cabin. I'm going to start assembling it all together. So just using liquid glue to attach everything down. So my little roof goes on top there, and then I will attach my frames around the windows and the doors. And I just decided that I needed a little bit more shading underneath that roof because I hadn't kind of factored that in. So like the eaves of the house need a bit of shading underneath them. And then I'm just going to attach the little heart at the top there, and then the frames around the door and the window. And I was kind of debating what to do about the inside of the house, as in behind the windows and the doors. And at this stage, I hadn't really decided what I was going to do about that. I did leave the door so that it could open. Again, I hadn't quite decided whether I wanted it to be interactive or not. In the end, I don't use it. I don't use that interactive feature of this die. But I was just keeping my options open at this point because I hadn't quite planned everything out perfectly. And, you know, as I said, it didn't quite come together how I wanted it to. And that's the downside of not planning everything. But, I still managed to salvage it a little bit, I think. So here's the girl and the bicycle that I had coloured and cut out earlier. So I'm attaching the little flowers to the basket of the bike, and I'm going to go ahead, and glue down the little girl onto the bicycle seat as well. So I'm just trimming a little bit between her legs there so that she can actually sit on the seat and look like she's riding the bicycle. I wish I hadn't done this at this point because I ended up, having to alter things, as I say. But it doesn't matter. It's okay. I can use this image for another card another day. But I think it's really sweet. I love this set and I haven't used it enough, so it was nice to pull it out today and have a go with it. So that's when I decided that I needed to put something behind the windows and door of my house. So I just coloured in using an N0 marker behind to a piece of cardstock, which I stuck behind. Then I used one of those little Dress My Heart craft dot type, heart-shaped dot type things, which I used as a door handle. So now I have used it's the Shadow Box Mountain add-on and the Platform Pop-Up add-on die to create this mountain border. So what I did was I traced around the die because I couldn't figure out how to make it fit into a platform pop-up. So I traced around the die and then cut it out by hand, and then used the add-on die, the platform pop-up add-on die, to figure out where my score lines needed to be and how long this needed to be. And I trimmed it down and added the score line so that it fits inside my platform pop-up, which I have gone ahead and cut from some Gotta Have Gingham paper in the grey colour. And now I'm just using the die from that Shadow Box Card Mountain add-on to add all the little pieces, the snow-capped tops, to my mountains. And now I'm going to attach this into the back of my platform pop-up. So I wanted to kind of create a spring mountain meadow, if that makes sense. I don't know why I said summer then. A spring mountain meadow look to my platform pop-up. So hence the reason for the mountains in the background there, and the kind of grassy heart garden border dies, because I thought they all kind of fit together quite nicely. And stupidly, I had already attached the double-sided tape to my T pieces when I assembled my platform pop-up. Which was maybe a mistake because I found it very difficult to remove the backing paper and attach everything down. But you will see that the little cabin, the log cabin, fits perfectly into this platform pop-up. So once I have that attached down, it's time to add my little garden heart border dies here. And I have trimmed them down so that they fit inside the platform pop-up and attached to those little T pieces. So again, having trouble removing the backing paper of the double-sided tape, but eventually I can manage to do it, and I attached one on here. Now one is slightly higher than the other one, so I've put that one towards the back and then the shorter one towards the front. And that is kind of the base of my card completed. So I just again struggled to remove this backing paper. I don't know why I did it this way. I thought I was being clever. Clearly I wasn't. But I managed to sort it out and attach everything down anyway. So that's always a bonus. So I actually, at this point, I really love how my little card is looking. I think it's really, really cute. But then here's the problem. I had anticipated putting this little girl on her bike in the front, but she is huge in comparison to everything else. It just looks all wrong. She doesn't fit in. And yeah, it just looks completely out of proportion, which I didn't really think about. Had I done a card that was like flat, I could have got away with it. But in the platform pop-up, it doesn't work. So I'm putting her aside while I figure everything else out. So off camera, I went ahead and coloured these ribbon pieces, which come with the platform pop-up die. I coloured them the same pink that I've used on the trim of the little house. And I'm just going to glue them down while I think about how to salvage my project here and what to do. As I say, I think it looks really cute. I was really happy with how the little cabin and the grassy pieces turned out. Really happy with how the mountains fit into my platform pop-up. Really happy with the little ribbon that I've attached here. And I probably should have just left it like that. I probably shouldn't have tried to do anything else. But as always, I tried to be a little bit extra and ended up not really liking what I did. But I'm trying again. But yeah, no, she's just too big. She's not going to work. So I thought about pulling her apart. And then I thought, no, I'm going to keep her and use her for something else. And I've gone ahead and coloured and cut out the little boy and the little girl from the Bicycle Built for You stamp set, and I'm going to stick them in now. I wish I hadn't done this because they get completely lost behind the flowers. Perhaps if I'd put them in front of the flowers, but I thought they would look a bit weird because they're designed to be sitting on the bike, and they look a bit strange if they're kind of stood up. They just look a bit odd. So I thought this way, if I hid them behind the flowers, they kind of look like they're running through the meadow of flowers. I was kind of thinking of Heidi and Peter on the mountainside in Switzerland. But yeah, it didn't work. But by this stage, it was a little too late to do anything about it. As I say, I kind of wish I'd just left the little people off completely and just had my little cabin and my little border of pretty flowers. But you live and learn. So I carried on, I persevered. I don't think it's awful. I'm not loving it. But I really liked the idea of the mountain and the cabin and the platform pop-up. So I stuck with it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Do give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And please do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back. Thanks for joining me today. Take care.